Hey guys, this is my spoiler review for the movie Us by Jordan Peele. If you haven't seen that movie yet, go ahead and go watch it. I'm going to be getting into some spoiler heavy territory. So if you don't want to know or have anything spoiled before you see it, come back to this video after you see the movie. If you're one of those weirdos that likes knowing the end of movies before you see it, watch this video. This is for you. When Adelaide is really young, she's on a vacation with her parents in Santa Cruz, and she wanders into a mirror house. And when she's in this mirror house, she gets really freaked out, and she meets her double. What we find out at the very end of the movie is that the young Adelaide that was born above ground runs into her double, and the double strangles her, drags her down into the tunnels, and switches places with her. So the Adelaide that was born below ground and has been eating bunnies to survive has now taken her place in the real world above ground. So the Adelaide that's living below ground gets super pissed off and decides to lead a revolt against her later in her life. And this is what we find in the rest of the movie. I told you guys in my other review that there are a lot of ways to go interpreting this movie. I'm going to be talking about how I went with this movie, but I've heard a lot of interpretations out there, so this is just my thoughts on it. First off, I loved how rich the symbolism was in this movie, starting off with the scissors. The scissors, as you know, reflect each other, and it's kind of a representation of the reflection of the people who were born above ground and the people who were created below ground, how they reflect each other. The scissors also represent how the people below ground are using it as a tool to break the tether between them and their above ground counterparts. Another piece of symbolism in the movie was when Adelaide is really young and she's at the fair with her parents before she goes to the mirror house, she's wearing a Thriller t-shirt, and this is a callback to Michael Jackson and his Thriller music video. And if you've seen the music video, you know that he turns into a monster and does his whole dance routine with the people. But the scary thing is that he just has this monster living inside him, and that's kind of a call to what the movie has to say about us as humans. The last part of symbolism that I loved was the color red throughout the entire film. Throughout the entirety of the cinema film. The color schemes point to bloodshed and violence. It also points to danger, anger, and also it is the color of communist revolutions throughout history. There were times in the movie that it also used Jeremiah 11:11, which is a verse out of the Old Testament where Jeremiah is talking to the tribe of Judah, which is a sector of the nation of Israel, and he is talking to them about how they've been worshiping false idols such as Baal. And what the verse says, I'm just going to read it out loud. The verse says, "Behold, I am bringing disaster upon them that they cannot escape. Though they cry to me, I will not listen to them." And when Jeremiah is talking to the tribe of Judah on behalf of God, he is saying that God is bringing his judgment upon them because they're breaking the covenant they made with him by worshiping false idols such as Baal and not him, the one true God. I thought this verse was very terrifying because it really represents bringing the wrath of God upon us, sinners, and it is very scary to think about that kind of power coming towards us. And in the movie, it's representing red coming with all the people from down beneath as sort of, like an unstoppable force coming to destroy everyone on Earth. Another big idea that this movie tackles is just the idea of nature versus nurture. When Red and Adelaide switch places when they're really young, it just kind of illustrates how when people are the same and when they're put in different places, they will turn out very differently. So when Adelaide grows up, she was born in the tunnels, but when she is raised above ground, she's able to live a full life. She's able to pursue ballet, and she's able to have a family and do whatever she wants. And when Red is switched from above ground to beneath ground, she is kind of kept under everyone, and she just has a very traumatic upbringing, and it affects her later in her life, and it just creates this very evil streak within her. The big idea that I thought that this movie cracked into was the idea of Marxist revolutions. Marxism is a theory and method of a working class self-emancipation. As a theory, it relies on a method of socioeconomic analysis that views class relations and social conflict using a materialist interpretation of historical development and takes dialectical view of social transformation. I know a lot of you might not understand what that just said, but basically all it means is that people who live in the lower class are upset and they decide that the people in the upper class just need to go. We need to overthrow them. They have everything. They're making all the decisions. We need to lead a violent revolt against them because we're in the lower class. We have less, but we deserve what they have. Revolutions like these have been seen all throughout history, from the Bolshevik Revolution, which led to the Soviet Union, the French Revolution, the Cuban Revolution. There have just been countless revolutions where the lower class has just been kept under the heel of a government or a ruling class, and they just decide to take violent means to overthrow everyone who is above them. Now, you might think that that makes sense. If I were in the lower class and I was being controlled by the government and upper class, that would upset me. But what they do not explain is that they're taking everyone out. It doesn't matter if you've done anything wrong. It doesn't matter if you've actually affected anyone. If you have more than me, you're going down. If you've succeeded in life, if you've done a good job, if you're in any place in the middle class or upper class, you haven't gone through the crap. You haven't had to deal with living in the lower class. So therefore, you don't deserve what you have. You might not even deserve your life. We're going to take that from you. This is illustrated in the film by how the doppelganger clones live beneath the real world. So the real world is depicted as maybe the upper class or the middle class, and the lower class are the doubles who live beneath ground. And it also is shown by how they reflect everyone who's living above ground. Anytime the upper class or middle class, they're doing some sort of activity, the people beneath the ground are doing some sort of perverted version of that activity. So here's a question we should ask ourselves. Were the tethered justified in their actions? Were they right to go above ground and just murder everyone that's above them? I think not. It wasn't the people above ground who created them. It was the government that created them to, exploit them. And I think that those are the people that are responsible for this injustice. My heart goes out to Red. Like, she had her life stolen from her, and, she even said at the very end, you could have taken me with you. I would have been okay with us both living above ground, but, that's not what Adelaide did. And I totally understand why Red's upset. But that doesn't really mean that we need to create, this whole revolution where we commit genocide against every single person across Earth. And that's the scariest thing about the movie. And I thought that's what, created the most terror for me, is how groups can just be weaponized by certain ideas if they don't really quite understand them. Everyone who is living beneath ground, they weren't really educated. They didn't really understand why they're going above ground. They just knew that what Red had, told them, that they were being exploited by the people above ground, when really that wasn't the truth. What Red was probably telling them were lies. I just thought it was a very effective way that Peele created, this terrifying experience of having this huge movement of this revolution just sweeping across the United States, just killing all these innocent people. I just thought that was terrifying. Peele did a very good job of showing us the antagonist, Red's reasoning to her actions, and just showing us the brokenness of what happened to her when she was young. And it shows us that although things happen to us when we're young, and there are lots of reasons for us to be upset about actions put upon us, is that we have to be careful what we want to do about that. It's very easy to run away with our anger. It's very easy to run away and just kind of have these bad thoughts that go off. But it's important for us to keep those in check and to not take these to their extremes, such as a revolution where we kill everyone. And that's all I have to say about that. That's my spoiler review of Us. If you liked it, press the like button, leave a comment, subscribe, hit the notification button, do all of those things. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.